I'm going to be asking you a series of questions. Firstly, please state your name, age, and place of birth.
My name is Ottilie Spiering Stronecker, my single name, and I was born in Austria, a town called Wolfsberg in Carinthia. The name Wolfsberg comes where there were mountains, and a long time ago wolves used to live there.
Okay, and can you describe to me about your childhood and what it was like growing up in Rabenstein?
We are born in a small town in Wolfsberg, and my parents moved to Rabenstein an der Drau in Carinthia, Kärnten, because my father was employed by the railway, and so we lived there on the frontier of Yugoslavia.
And you took the train to get to school, I imagine?
Yes, we took a train, but many times in the primary school we walked, and that was 5 kilometers.
Yeah, so quite a distance.
Yeah, we had to get up. School started at 8 o'clock in the morning. We used to get up at 5 o'clock. And when we took the train came at 6 o'clock.
And you've also mentioned quite a lot about the Second World War. How did life change for you and other people in Austria, and are there any experiences you'd like to share?
Yes, I remember being in the secondary school that the teacher announced and said we are at war. And it made a great change for us, because as we lived at the frontier, there were conflicts with the partisans. They used to live and hide in the mountain region, and certain times they came down, and it even happened to us that they came down. They did not shoot us, but they pointed their guns at us, and we were very frightened, because we could not speak their language and they could not speak ours.
And you have a few collections of stories that you mentioned.
Yes, one man arrived at the door, and my mother told him to come in, and he said, "Please don't look at me, I have no clothes on. I swam over the river to escape for political reasons, and I tied my clothes on my head, and as I was swimming I lost them, and I have no clothes on." So my mother handed him some clothes of my father and a towel, and he came in and stayed the night, and the next day he walked 5 kilometers and reported at the police station there. So what next? One time, as we were teenagers, my sister and I were going out in the nearby of our home to pick wild strawberries, and as we were up on the hill we heard motorbikes coming and stopping, and we were looking down from behind bushes what was going on, and we saw in uniform a Gestapo and one man in civil clothes carrying a shovel, and they walked with that man into the woods, and we could hear shoveling and then a shot firing, and afterwards the two men in uniform came back, but no man. So my sister and I went into the wood to that area and looked, and we could saw freshly dug a heap of earth. And we left and went home. And we knew then that that man was shot and had to dig his own grave before being shot. And another time I remember, I was already in bed, my parents were still up, and I must have fallen asleep, but I woke up, I felt something cold on my chest. I woke up and there was a man in uniform next to me in bed. And with one hand he held a pistol on my chest, and with the other hand he tried to rape me. But I was not afraid. I fought him, and with one hand he didn't manage. And I got out of bed and he followed me with a pistol into the kitchen where my father and my mother were. And there was another soldier, he held a pistol to my parents. But when I came out with that other soldier, partisan or Tito, they said coffee to my mother, make coffee. And my mother quickly made coffee. They drank the coffee and left. They did not do any harm to us. Then the next day there were already British occupation 5 kilometers from us, and we went to report that, what happened. And they came with a vehicle, they took me back home, and the lady who went with me, and advised us to collect essential things we needed, and took us to an ex-prison camp that was occupied by the British Army. And we stayed there, another lady, young lady from Vienna, and we went there, and there were lots of young ladies there in that camp, and we stayed a fortnight till those partisans where the British force told them to return back to Yugoslavia and shown them the frontier, that is Austria, and they should go back to Yugoslavia. And we were able to go back home. So that was this. Another occasion, I was cycling home from some shopping 5 kilometers from our home, and halfway a British soldier stopped me to get off my bicycle, and he took the bicycle and pushed it against a tree, and he tried to molest me, and I was fighting him off, and he left me, did no harm to me, and I managed to cycle back home. And another time a man came, he was a German, and he came in uniform but no gun, and he said, I feel very unwell, I have malaria. So my mother gave him something to eat and drink, and he stayed the night with us, and the next day he said, I will try to go on, but I feel so unwell and frightened. So I offered, as I happened to be at home, I walked with this man halfway where there would be a doctor. And I walked with him a few minutes from home, and out of the wood, 2 men in uniform with the Soviet star, Titos, came and told us to stop. And I pointed that I could see the house where I lived, that my parents lived there, my mama and papa. So the Titos told me to take the bike and go. And this man was with them, and the next day someone came passing that area came and stopped and told us there's a dead man lying up there. And we could only guess that this is the man with malaria. He was in German uniform. And another occasion I remember, I was traveling by train, and there were a few people there, and I remember two men, Austrian people. They talk to each other. They don't like the war and all the trouble there is. And a man got up in civil clothes and took a document from his breast pocket and shown him secret police. And they said to the man, your name and address. And the man had to tell them, but I don't know what happened then, because those men stayed with that man. He must have been imprisoned or something happened to him. The secret police.
And then after all of this, when the war ended, you chose to move to England in 1952. Can you describe to me what that experience was like for you?
Yes. I had in my mind I would like to be a nurse and go to Africa as a missionary nurse. And I've been told that it would be good to train in England and learn more the English language, which I didn't know much before, that I could be accepted there and train. So I first was in Vienna and did already 3 months training as a nurse. So I gave my notice in there and I went to England and south of England, near London, and I did my general training of nursing, 3 years, and maternity part 1 as well. And so I was prepared to go as a missionary nurse, but in my second year I happened to meet my husband, and so I fell in love then as well, and instead of going to the mission field I got married.
Yes.
And I had then 3 children.
And have now been living in England over 60 years.
Yes.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's an amazing story. And after telling us all of this, what advice would you like to give to your children and grandchildren or anyone else that would be interested?
Yes, to be truthful all your life, honest and truthful, and don't forget to pray, because I feel I've been protected by guardian angels, and God helped me, because I was in situations when I told that reported that they all said you could have all been shot and nobody could have done a thing about it.
Yes.
No language, and they were all armed and could do what they liked with people.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great interview. Thank you.